tuning in. If you're enjoying the games, even better. But spawning here in the top left side of the map, I would say surprisingly up 1-0. It's the blue Terran player, Botvinnik.
In the bottom right, as the pink Protoss, it's Harstem.
Now, I hope that a lot of people who are the Botvinnik fans tuning in don't take too much offense from us not counting on him to do well. We've seen Botvinnik several times, and never has he looked as good as he did in that first game versus Harstem. So
Yeah.
if that's not a lucky game and something he can consistently produce, not only will I be excited for him to qualify, but I will look very forward to his group stage matches. Plus, Zomgrub and I are the most Terran biased sons of bitches out there, so I'll be super stoked to have a Terran player be the first one through the qualifier.
Yeah, that would be really impressive.
Really don't want to take away from Harstem, though. I expect good things, and maybe that expectation is set too high. Regardless, I think we'll get a good match.
I don't know where this probe is going. Second probe going? Oh, just go to the next Nexus. Proxy Stargates have really made quite a impact on this matchup, just as an opener, not even as like a dedicated all-in. And I certainly saw a lot of that already in this qualifier, but I'm not sure if Harstem's going to go for that. The most appealing thing about Botvinnik's play last game was not the fact that he won, which was impressive, sure. It was his seeming like lack of fear of Protoss, which is a lot of other Terrans' problems, or not even a problem, they feel like it's necessary. With the Warp Prism out, they usually try and be a little too defensive. They get tanks as opposed to going up to that large amount of bio, and they just play scared. He played kind of fearless. He was like, I'm just gonna get bio and stim into you, and kind of win.
Bravery is another word for stupid, and he was quite brave, I guess, in some of those some of those instances. Because again, with that Liberator fight and the awkward EMPs, but you're right, like he did play fearless coming into it. I just checked on the bets, by the way. Botvinnik has about 10,000 Partoofs bet on him. Harstem has about 22,000 Partoofs bet on him. So if Botvinnik not only wins, like not only will that be a bit of an upset in terms of our expectations, not that we would be upset, but it's also going to be an upset for the bets. People will pay out greatly for it.
Yeah, well, Botvinnik is going for I think the same build. So into the barracks as opposed to the factory then starport builds we see a lot of the time in TvP. Harstem has his own shot to change things up. That Warp Prism he got so early in the last game didn't do damage. Not only did it not do damage like initially and it surprised Botvinnik or anything like that, it also didn't really have a chance to go for any more drops afterwards because he was constantly being, attacked by the Liberators and whatnot. But actually, no, he went for the Cyclone last game, didn't he? He just ended up having a lot of bio.
Yeah.
And it didn't actually do anything. That Cyclone did nothing. There's just the Marines on the right side.
That's the unfortunate thing that seems to be Cyclones. Like, I'd say a majority of the games, they really don't accomplish much. But there's that one game you lose because you didn't go for it, and you kind of have to go for it.
Yeah. Well, he's also not getting as fast as the 3rd CC. Oh, wait, it might be SCV right there. That's a supply depot. Oh, well. So this could be a fairly sizable army even earlier than last game's push. We'll see if Harstem will be willing to defend it, or he's going to try and get a greedy 3rd base. Once again, a Robo and the Twilight Council. Bread and butter of Protoss.
I mean, we talked about the Cyclone not doing a lot last game. The Warp Prism not doing a lot either. I mean, it was how to phrase, like, it wasn't a super passive game where players went AFK for 20 minutes mining type thing, but it was almost like everything they went for initially failed, so they just kind of had to make do. This time Harstem's going for Blink very definitively early. Chrono Boost comes down immediately. This is a map where, once again, we've seen too many times Blink from here to the main with a Warp Prism seems to be a little too much. In fact, that was precisely the move he used to kill Beastie Cutie.
Yeah. I guess it's just odd because usually we do nothing but talk about the Cyclone and the Warp Prism because they are the most two important units, and it was odd they didn't do anything last game. This game, it's more about this push. It's going to have Stim, and it is a little dangerous. If you lose this entire army to what we used to be photon overcharges, you could be in a lot of trouble, but I don't know what's going to happen here.
I think as long as they fight by the photon overcharge, they'll be fine. Yeah, that's the Warp Prism. Gets caught. Nice snipe out of Botvinnik. I don't know, man. Harstem question marks are raised. It's not like he was tabbed out, sitting there like 600 APM, but I was gonna say, like, all he's gotta do is fight in that middle line near the pylons. I think he's fine, but losing the Warp Prism, that means no counterattack potential yet. He's got to build a new one. This still times out decently for Blink, and the nice thing is, and this isn't balance wine for once, I promise. The nice thing is, the Warp Prism actually doesn't cause gas, so that wasn't a hefty loss. If he had lost, like, you know, it's not the same as a Terran player losing like 3 medevacs. You're still SOL, like, if that's the case, because you can't replace gas. But a Warp Prism, that's just minerals, that's no problem, so Harstem's got another one good to go.
That does give Botvinnik a bit of time to just be relieved, basically. He's going up to a starport, he's going to get those medevacs out, and continue probably being aggressive, because actually it's what's getting him leads in these games to begin with. A third TC is finally on the way. This is a lot later than that last game. Harstem's own third as well. I think he really wanted to be a little more, you know, aggressive with the blink, but with that Warp Prism dying is really lost on that timing.
Oh god. In chat, we got Jesse challenging Mana to a 1v1 now. Poor Mana is going to lose so hard to Jesse the...
Flat Protoss.
I was going to say amazing Protoss, but if you want to go with that...
Okay, alright.
Again, I actually think that's pretty cool. Jesse has told us, by the way, guys, he plans to be here for every broadcast that he possibly physically can be. So if at any time during the TING qualifiers you got any questions about TING, related to TING, just send them to Jesse. He's been answering and fielding questions all day. He's that dork from the video we were watching.
You're so nice.
It's a little mean, I guess, but no, Jesse's a cool guy. I like him. I had a lot of fun when we got to hang out with him. Tour of the TING office too. That video that we played where you see the woman in the call center, that is literally their upstairs. Like, we got to go tour their place.
Well, this is the ideal timing for Protoss, or anyone, really.
Yeah.
The army moves out, you move in with harassment.
Well, at the same time for Harstem too, he's not going to be able to afford any warp-ins, I feel, offensively at this point. So, a little bit scary. The Adepts kill off the Marine that was harassing
that was
him.
a bold blink. Oh, there's reinforcements coming in.
The sentries help a little bit with the Guardian Shield, but being exposed on the front line like that, Botvinnik just focuses them down.
Yeah,
the blink I'm less concerned about. I'm more so exposing the sentries. Guardian Shield is so good. It reduces so much Terran damage.
That was very dangerous. Harstem does go back into that double forge, but just not at the same time as he did last game. So it's going to be 1-0 for quite a time, and Botvinnik will have that upgrade lead. His third base finally goes down to that gold. Harstem has had his saturated for quite some time. This game, it does go on. I mean, that was a pretty bold blink forward and probably a mistake, but it doesn't seem like it's affecting the game. It's not ending the game now anyways. But here comes push number 2. Harstem will see this with the Observer.
Yeah, it's interesting. Oh, well.
Not anymore.
You jinxed it, Zombie Grub. Way to go. But you're right. He did see it coming, and this army out of him is still a bit meager. Sorry, it's just there's not a lot here. Guardian Shield's gonna help out a ton. Again, obviously keep the sentries alive. I like that he replaced them and didn't go just purely Adepts or anything so silly. If he was able to find a way to buy time for his upgrades, those would actually help out a ton, as Botvinnik has not started 2-2. The armory is only just completed. But that Warp Prism is not anywhere close to harassing. And weirdly enough, the natural base would be a pretty nice target. But splitting for 3 drops to the main, Harstem, he's got a couple of stalkers here. He's warping it. I guess he had a suspicion this would be the case.
He's a Zelnaga. So Botvinnik knew that too and actually goes to clear it up. He wants to be able to drop that main base again. And this time not be detected. Finds a stalker though for whatever reason. Freebie.
I think it was just scouting for drops. I actually think it's a more expensive version of the Marine that does that, but
that's a good point. Supposed to be able to blink back to his army, but then it didn't.
We got the slow chat complaints, guys, and now we got some viewbots tuning in. If you're a viewbot in chat, please don't press 1.
Ah, God. So Botvinnik is not really rushing for another attack. That first one seemed to be okay for him, and with the third base up, he does transition into the later tech. Ghosts and Liberators, as well as his upgrades. Harstem has some breathing room to get back up to maybe Storm again?
Storm does seem to be the
Storm?
preferable choice. And even if you can't get straight to Storm, an Archon or 2 is not bad. But the problem here is that it is going to be Ghosts, and those are going to be effective against both.
Yeah. Terran does seem to have that better army in that late game, and only if the Protoss can get to a nice amount of Tempest do they kind of take that control back. That's hard to do. Yet again, clearing up the tower. I do like that Harstem also got an observer over here, realizing that Botvinnik is going to be that type of Terran player. He's going to be that guy that tries to drop him all the time.
He did leave a lot of stalkers patrolling the main. This takes away from his main army by a fairly significant amount, but also guarantees. Ooh, hold that thought. EMPs go down, and the Liberator's siege. This forces Harstem to back away. Takes some damage in the back while he turns his back to his opponent. Meanwhile, the drops aren't heading towards the main. They're going towards that third base. Luckily, these overcharges should be enough to deal with it. Main base also being brought back. There's a small counterattack. Yeah, the Adepts get across the map. 11 SCVs die behind this. Pretty nice for Harstem, who's been struggling to get any leads this game. But let's also not forget his upgrades are finishing soon. Botvinnik's 2-2 as well. But for Harstem, I'm really looking towards that Storm for him. 2 medevac snipes are nice as well.
There's not that much army defending that Liberator. He could have sniped it, but of course was trying to control the harassment that went into the natural and the main base, going back into the main base as that War Prison did not die. Botvinnik losing a lot of momentum, trying to deal with this, which is nice for Harstem because it's, you know, been the case up until now. The War Prison wasn't doing its job, basically. It sucked. Now it's good. But more Liberators, more Ghosts, and Harstem's still not looking towards those Stargates. It's not like an unbeatable competition without Tempest. It's just fairly difficult.
It really does depend on how much the the Liberator count snowballs. I actually think with what's here is manageable. The EMPs are a much larger priority and danger than, say, the Liberators would be. But this is, again, I'm not sure what the case is, and I would love to have a sit down and talk with Harstem about it. But why Disruptors fell so far out of the matchup? They're hard to use, and Biostims on top of them fairly easily, but I have to imagine investing in 1 or 2 in this situation just to send that ball through the siege and maybe get some free kills. That would have to be worth it, no?
I think that Disruptors complement the army versus this better, but obviously this isn't only Harstem. We've seen other Protosses just they're going back to Storm, which for a long time they're actually skipping in favor of the Disruptors. So it's swung back in the favor of the High Templar.
Well, looks like we got a fight on our hands. EMPs are hitting a good chunk of the army. Of course, he was looking for hitting those Templar more than anything else, but Harstem's best case scenario would actually be Botvinnik chasing into him and Storm as he kites away. Yeah.
Another thing Disruptors are really good at too. Making sure they can't race you back home. But the push is actually a lot scarier for Harstem to back up too, because he does not want those Liberators getting into a good position on top of his bases, on top of his warp-in points, on top of, you know, the high ground, so the Blink Stalkers can get under them. And Botvinnik takes a pretty commanding structure right here. There's more harassment going down, this time at the third base of Botvinnik.
He's losing some SCVs. We'll take an eye on that in a moment, because right now we got this Templar hiding so far away in the back, waiting for Botvinnik to use all his EMPs on the Stalkers and on the Immortals. If the Templar actually get the Storms off, they're going to melt a lot of these Marines. But the Marauders, how do you deal with the Marauders at the end of the day? 3 level weapon upgrades, so close to finishing for Harstem, but not going to be here for the fight. A majority of the fight actually missing out on those upgrades. Storm getting eaten on the left side. No energy left on these medevacs. I think this is where Harstem starts to maybe pull ahead. But that Liberator sneaks into the back line and takes out a couple of those Immortals. Oh,
get that one Liberator. It's like 0 health.
There's a lot of just barely going on here, but Harstem is just barely pulling through, barely holding on. His harass has been shut down, and it didn't kill that many SCVs. But that army fight, I gotta say, I think was better for Harstem, mostly because, once again, Botvinnik lost like all the Ghosts and all the Liberators. Yeah, you've got some bio retreating with medevacs, but these are units that are easier to replicate. Getting new Ghosts and getting new Liberators out, that's going to take time and a lot more money.
They both are in a fairly sizable bank, so a bit of missed macro, actually, in the case there. And they will have to, well, Harstem especially, use up that minerals. But Liberator is actually going for the harassment here. Harstem was not expecting that. Just pull the probes away. Was expecting a frontal push or a drop or something with the cannons, the way that he placed them. Botvinnik, he said, didn't take that much SCV damage, so he had enough money to go ahead and get a 5th base, a 5th command center, as well as finish those upgrades. They're now going to be 3-2 versus 3-3. Harstem in the lead.
Chat's asking, where's the Terran Photon Overcharge? It's called the Ibix Cannon. It sits on top of the command center. It's literally a command center that has a gun for a hat.
The War Prism's still not dead?
I think the Adepts just shaded in.
Yeah, must have been. There are the Ghosts once more. If Botvinnik is going to try and get back up to that, you know, high Ghost count, you know, decent Liberator count, he's probably gonna have to start thinking about more turtle tactics here, as in like a bunch of sensor towers and missile turrets, like we saw from BCQD.
Yeah. Second Robo does come down at a Harstem. I'm pretty sure that's going to be focused on Immortals, what with how heavy the Marauder composition's been so far. But, this big stim, that's a lot of Marauders. They'll take down those pylons real quick, like. Does Harstem have charge on Zealots? No, he doesn't. That's actually... Zealots would be so good in this situation. When you see a Terran player going so heavy Marauders, Ghosts, and, like, no Widow Mines, I think a couple of charge slots would be a nice composition to add in, but oh, that's a lot of storms. I hope they don't all get EMP'd.
It's tricky though, because the Zealots will also run into Liberator range when you don't want them to,
That's
and
true,
EMPs will affect them greatly as well. That is a very big drop, and it is mostly Marauders, so the Storm doesn't just, barely, it can't take them out. That Nexus is going to go down.
This base isn't the biggest priority though. Truthfully, it had gas in it, which is still nice, but for Harstem, he had mined most of this out. Not the biggest deal to lose this one, especially if it was picking one versus the other, but it's not. He could have brought that army from the north on down, but Botvinnik is going to pull out of this after killing that base and not over-dedicate, which is probably smarter on his part. The Templar being exposed like this, though. Oh, Harstem, no.
Okay, only this is one Knight Templar, but that was a potentially dangerous mistake. The 5th base of Botvinnik is trying to land on the far left side, and that probably isn't where you want to be. Besides, the Adept being there. I think you want the Plateau more, but oh well.
Well, he's looking to push up, maybe take on those ghosts. It's really scary to say. One of the big things about these cannons, though, to Harstem that I really enjoy is it did keep the ghosts back. They wanted to just dive in and pick off those Templar, obviously, but cannons, while not the best damage in the game, are certainly enough to kill the ghost before it reaches your Templar. And we had mentioned this before back in the days where we would watch Harstem on Deadwing play like 50-minute games versus Koss. You'd see those pylons mixed with 3 cannons scattered all over the map. Ooh, the DT Shrine, actually. I like this.
Yeah. The Dark Shrine coming in is going to add a lot to that harassment that has already been pretty effective. Now, Harstem does need another War Prism.
Ooh, you know what, actually, too? Botvinnik doesn't have that many orbitals. He made a lot of planetaries as he continued to expand, so DTs might be even better because of the lack of scans available.
Yeah, and he never bothered missile turning up his bases, so he really does not have a great defense against harassment. Harstem, though, takes an engagement, so they both take an engagement here. The EMPs, I think, were good, but then some feedbacks went down.
He's still got full energy Templar on the back side of this, though, so I think as long as Harstem can get these storms off, yeah, that bio's going to hurt, but he's going to lose one of his bases. Hopefully cancels. There's no way he defends this with what he has. That's 400 minerals down the drain that he's got a bank, but he doesn't want to give away for free like that.
Once they end the game, he might have an opportunity. There's no more ghosts. There's no more EMPs.
There's a couple, yeah, right. There's a couple of ghosts, but you're right. There's no EMPs, which is the more important factor in this. And those Templar were kept back safe so long. He's even got more. A lot of these are full energy, so 2 ghosts. No, I think he's keeping them back on purpose. He doesn't want to risk EMPs.
It's supposed to come one at a time forward, and he was about to push into that ramp, and I was like, don't push it without those storms.
That's true.
Come
that's
on now.
True. That's very
Come
true.
on now.
Harstem, bring those Templar, man. You can do this. He's been focused on a lot of different things, though. There's been drops all over the place. There's a Liberator on the right side. Now those Templar come forward. He's trying to push up that ramp. Archon was soaking some hits. He's got to back up for just a moment. 2 more Archons on the right side. Get those on the front line. Templar, oh, please, Harstem, you've got like 5, 6 storms banked up here, man.
Oh, he's ready to split, but he does actually have to retreat. Everything's been stimmed. The medevacs are out of energy. He's
Harstem's
barely able
trying to do it.
Another ghost.
He's got some ghosts now. He's got some ghosts, but despite this supply lead out of Harstem, he's losing production on the back end of this at home. 3 Marauders are chipping away at all the pylons and all the gateways. 1 DT comes in, kills this command center. Botvinnik trying to take this one on location, just gives another free target for Harstem to kill. And these Templar, okay, we might be like criticizing a little harshly about them being AFK in the back, but the fact that these all have energy is huge. He's going to start walking away from this army. I'm not sure about taking this with the Sockers. He can blink away to safety. Harstem, what's going on, man?
This is so clutch. Okay, no more EMPs, but 4 more ghosts are on the way. He must have just muled that 5th base, so that the Adept was covering. Like, Harstem knows that it's there, but just hasn't had any money or gas to harass it.
He could send 1 DT to that base and do work, but storms going down do hit a lot of the army. Harstem pretty much out of juice at this point. Falls back. There's another storm. There's 2 more storms. How are there so many storms left? Adept's coming to the front line. Should be able to clean up what's left. And Botvinnik's got 40 supply, 30 of which are in medevacs.
Oh god, he did definitely overextend. Of course, he's like really down on scans, both for those DTs, but also just to check what's coming behind the army if there's more High Templars waiting.
Let's not forget, though, EMP will reveal DTs. So DTs in the main army are actually not that great of a choice. DT's harassing and killing that command center with all the SCVs on it, that would be a great choice.
Yeah, and he didn't actually kill his command center. It's a plain command center, not even an orbital.
Oh yeah, this one here too, yeah. All right, so he's going to go focus on the orbital down here. Soccer's can hit behind the mineral line. DTs can certainly get in there as well.
Oh,
Just going to
annoying.
deny some mining. Is pretty nice. Middle of the map, he's got to be careful, though. These Templar do get EMP, become an Archon immediately. There's those DTs pre-scans to see them, though. Harstem
God.
over-dedicating. Oh, man, he took control of this game. Don't lose it. Another storm comes down.
So clutch for both parties, though. I mean, now they're actually at even
Oh my God.
workers. Funnily enough, why are you doing this mining?
Because he's moved the command sword over. I guess he transferred them. This is actually great for Botvinnik. Botvinnik's economy is in a lot more steady position than Harstem's is.
Oh,
But Harstem's had
dangerous.
control of money for the last 10 minutes in the game. So
Those,
Harstem, while technically ahead in income, starting to fall behind in army.
the ghosts.
Snipes
Not
off
the
all those ghosts, though, so maybe not. Even if he kills his Nexus, it's not worth losing 3 ghosts like that. Archon on the front line, going to take out these Marines. Medevac's going to run, but guess what? It's Blink Stalkers.
Oh, barely doesn't get the medevac that had the units in it. That was very close. Has to deal with this. If he only had ever, if he had ever gotten the high sec auto tracking. Actually, I think the stalkers are still far away.
Yeah, it doesn't actually reach behind the mineral line that far.
No.
It extends to just, I think, like 1 grid space behind. But
Yep.
point of it still is, like, denying the mining like this was fantastic. If he was controlling, he could have actually sniped off 2 medevacs with the stalkers. But, oh my goodness. At this stage of the game, like, this still blows me away. Harstem never went for Colossus. He never went for Tempest. He never got Disruptors. He's been fighting with what is essentially just a gateway army this whole game.
He found the orbital on the right side with 2 stalkers. The SCVs could have pulled into this, but he's gonna need a bunker or something over there.
He expands himself. Both players fully aware of the necessity of money at this stage of the game. Mules were carrying Botvinnik pretty hard for a time, and he had that huge SCV Congo line that finally caught up. But again, like one stalker here and there denying a lot of mining, picking off SCVs. Like right now, Harstem has control of the game. I'm not saying he's on the brink of winning, but he's controlling the map. Botvinnik's not dropping. He's playing entirely defensive because he has to.
He there's what a big problem is the medevacs were out of energy for a lot of that fight. A lot of them have died actually, but they are starting to accrue that energy. He's cleaned up the harassment on all of his bases, so he's back to 3-based mining, although on 10 less workers and not that many mules left over.
Picks off that medevac. This leaves 3 remaining behind it. These adepts are actually going to start paying off a lot better than ever, because there's not going to be. You're going to stim the units. They're going to die. The adepts are going to like 2-shot everything with the level 3 upgrades. I mean, this is kind of scary actually. Stalker's a little bit on the front line, a little too forward, not blinking back, but he still puts more stalkers off to the side. While this like somehow Harstem finds time to focus on the sides of the map while this army fight's going on. Moves these stalkers into position with a DT. Denies mining on the planetary fortress. There's only one base barely mining, and that's in the middle of the map right now.
Like Botvinnik, I mean, the only way he's been able to defend these bases is by putting a bunker, just leaving units over there.
That's a really good EMP. The Archon, however, gets focused down, so damage is going to kill this.
It's very
Harstem.
close. So damn close. So that Templar goes down, but so does the Ghost.
There's another couple Templar behind this, so he's got more storms. Always getting
Jesus.
baited into more
Jesus.
storms. Oh, this is not a fight he wants to take. The Adepts with the Resonating Glaives almost take out all the Marauders. Stalkers could and should and still will blink away. There's very few units on the field for Botvinnik. This is the last of his army starting to go down. We got a small rally of reinforcements coming in, but Harstem is gonna DTs! Oh my god, his opponent's mining mules so crazy, he might not have scans for this.
Oh my Jesus. His army can beat Blink Stalkers. The upgrades are even.
Yeah,
and
but
the,
there's the DT. One DT.
They had the 1 DT. I don't know if he has any scans.
Even if he did, burning a scan is so expensive at this part of the game. He's got 21 SCVs and no bases mining. He actually lost the command center over here.
He only has 1 orbital command. It barely has, like, it's about to have a scan, but eventually DTs will win this game.
I have had my butt cheeks clenched for the last like 10 minutes of this game, because for either of them, if they throw one bad army engagement, that's going to be game. DT's focusing on the planetary. This can get repaired. This hopefully will get repaired. Scan goes down. He's going to walk away from it. Just use range against it. But
so close. Just tap it. Just tap it. Just tap it. Tap it.
There we go. Breathe heavily in that direction. Stalkers get a little bit too close for comfort. Still denying mining. Harstem's got this top right base. I don't know where his probes are, actually. He should probably transfer a good chunk of them up there and start mining. But this game hinges so heavily on this one base for Botvinnik. Yes, there's a planetary in the bottom left, but this Stalker's up to like 7 kills. Any SCVs built just get taken down immediately. If Botvinnik responds to go take care of that Stalker, Harstem moves into this base. The map being split as dire as it has been is what's killing Botvinnik.
Oh, he can't lose any unit. Like, seriously, even a Marine right now is too much. And Harstem, with this consistent mining for the last couple of minutes, is really just starting to overwhelm with that army supply, which has been very close for most of this game. Now up by 20. A drop to the top right is going to deny Harstem's mining finally, or try to.
No, but a
DT
DT.
is perfect defense.
DTs are going to be so good in this part of the game. You can't afford to scan because you need to mine. You can't afford to mine, so this is just a bad situation in general. Storm hits the army. There's no medevacs here. GG!